Hello, Aquarius. This is Michael with your reading for May 2022. I hope that this video finds you well. I already have all of your cards pulled and on the table here, and I'm super eager to share these messages with all of you. But before we dive in, I just want to thank all of you who have supported this channel with your likes, shares, comments, and subscribes, and an extra special thank you to all of my patrons on Patreon. It's with all of your support that I'm able to continue putting out these messages and doing this incredible work. So really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. I so appreciate all of you, and it really has been such a gift to be able to do this. And I have all of my links in the description box down below. If you're looking for a reading or Reiki session with me, I actually have a 15% off sale through May 16th using the code ECLIPSE at checkout. So if you want to work with me, now is a great time to snag a session. And I think that's pretty much everything for housekeeping. Let's dive into your reading here. The very first card I had for you, Aquarius, was the Three of Swords, and this is showing up in the past. And so I feel like there's been this big focus and emphasis on you for healing, which is kind of interesting. I actually feel like there's a lot that you've already healed from. There's a lot you've had to move on from, maybe heartache or a sense of betrayal or some loss. And very often when we have the Three of Swords in the reverse, it's this indication that you're no longer in this fresh, painful energy. There has been this time that has passed. There has been this perspective that you have gained. And I really look at the Three of Swords. There's often these storm clouds. There's often these sort of energies that imply the Three of Swords, while painful in the moment, is fleeting. It's like the weather, it's changing. And so whatever it is that you were going through, it feels like it's something that has actually shifted. And I feel like the way you have done this was through spirituality with the Hierophant and the world in reverse. These are kind of lessons you have gained from the past, what you can reliably access moving forward. And it feels like there has just been this tremendous spiritual wisdom. And you've been going through it for a little while now because Saturn, one of your ruling planets, actually is in your sign. And there's just been a lot of lessons. And with the world in reverse, it feels like you needed to kind of close yourself off from others and kind of close yourself off from modern life. It feels like the group I'm really connecting with, it's almost like you've been in this super spiritual phase that a lot of people around you don't understand. And I mean, you're probably still working, you're probably still doing things that you need to do, but other than that, it feels like your life is very removed from other people. And to be honest, if I were to even like kind of pick through something here that I'm getting, it's almost like spiritual bypassing is something I'm kind of wondering if that's a theme for you. And for those of you who don't know what spiritual bypassing is, I personally call it psycho-spiritual bypassing. It's basically when we use spiritual concepts or self-help concepts or psychological concepts to kind of invalidate our human experiences. Where it's like, oh, unconditional love. Like I'm not gonna bother myself with feeling negatively towards another person. And sometimes we use these sorts of techniques, or we use these sort of beliefs or principles in a very destructive and toxic way. I'm not saying that that's what's happened here, but I do think that's something you have become aware of. And maybe that is something you participated in a little bit, but it kind of feels like there was a part of spirituality that genuinely helped you. And I kind of get this sense now where it's almost like, okay, yeah, you've done the spiritual thing, you've done the meditation thing, but now you need to kind of go back out into the world. And maybe that's really hard, or maybe that even feels impossible to do right now. Um, So that's kind of an interesting energy right there. And then the astrology this month is just so crazy because we have a Mercury retrograde in the sign of Gemini. Mercury goes retrograde on the 10th. It actually enters into Taurus, which for you is a very important sign. It represents kind of who you are, your foundations and your roots. It represents home. It represents family. It represents your ancestors, just anything that you came from, really. So those are things that are going to kind of be a little thematic for you this month. And that's just with this Taurus season. We had a Taurus eclipse on the 30th of April. All of this is really kind of in the forefront right now. Maybe the people you feel disconnected from is your family. That's something I could potentially see. And it's interesting, Aquarius, looking at the cards, fortitude, which is strength, and the Knight of Wands are both in reverse in the present. I almost get the sense that something snaps for you this month, to be honest. Or maybe there's just some sort of conflict. Like someone loses their composure with the Strength card and with the Knight of Wands in reverse. I am getting this. I feel like someone is losing their composure. And it kind of feels like it needs to happen. Because everyone is like trying to be transcendent here, or trying to be the bigger person or the more evolved person or the more ascended person. Um, but that's ego. The only part of us that wants that is our ego. And I feel like there's almost this thing where it's like, oh no, did my spirituality fail me? Have my practices failed me? Has my mental health journey failed me? I don't think so. I do think it's been misused in some ways, if I'm being honest. Um, and that's very natural. That happens. I think we all do that. Honestly, we all kind of have those experiences in our lives. We have those moments in our lives where it's like, oh yeah, I was almost doing like too much of a good thing, or I wasn't really willing. I didn't want to feel this pain anymore. And maybe something with this conflict that could be coming up this month, or that's kind of around you, that could be triggering something for you. And it's like you don't want to engage with it again. You don't want to engage with that anymore. You don't want to have to go into that energy anymore. But I almost feel like you've been like an island with the Five of Coins in reverse here as your challenge. And it's like you don't know how to ask people for help because you don't know how they can even help you. And then with the Pluto eclipse, or I'm sorry, the Scorpio eclipse that we have on the 16th of May, there could be a big shakeup for you in career and your role in the world at large. And maybe that's even triggering some sort of identity crisis or some sort of like existential crisis. Where it's like, what am I doing with my life? Is almost what I get with that too. Um, you've learned a lot for yourself, Aquarius. You've had to in your life. and you still don't know what to make of that, how to give that to other people, or if you're supposed to give that to other people, or how that's supposed to look. There's this sort of like legacy kind of question I'm getting for you. And with the Nine of Wands and the Nine of Swords in reverse, to be honest with you, Aquarius, I feel like you had to do so much healing in your life. And sometimes one of the deepest traumas we can have is actually when we had to heal ourselves. Because it kind of cements this belief that no one else can help us. And no one else can help us heal. And that we are the only ones who can do that work for us. And I think there are phases and chapters in our life where that very well may be true. But ultimately, we're supposed to heal to a point where we can have healthy relationships that are interdependent. Not independent or codependent, but interdependent. There's an exchange. And I feel like with the Nine of Swords in reverse, something is being tripped up in you in this month where there's this conflict and it feels like to you, oh, this shouldn't be happening. I don't want to deal with this. I can't deal with this. But it's coming up for a reason. These emotions are coming up for a reason. You're having this loss of composure for a reason. Because you're not supposed to do it alone. I think you would actually benefit quite a bit from another person's perspective or advice. And maybe this is a therapist, maybe this is a reader, maybe this is a spiritual teacher, maybe this is following someone online, maybe this is a friend you trust or a mentor. Whoever this figure is, it doesn't really matter. But it does feel like a different perspective than what you've pursued in the past, or what you've had in the recent past, like in this year or even in the past couple of months. Because I kind of feel like you followed someone's advice, and I don't know if the source of your advice has necessarily always been the most accurate or the most useful for you. Maybe it was for a time, but now something is changing, something's shifting, it's not working anymore. The Fool in reverse with the Hierophant, clarifying this energy with the World in reverse. Some of you have been afraid of living, and you've been using spirituality to not live your life. And it's not coming from a place of, oh, I've transcended this. If we're really being honest, it's coming from a place of you being in resistance to your emotions and the messiness of life. And whether you're using spirituality, whether you're using mental health concepts, whether you're using whatever, astrology, tarot, whatever it is that's preventing you from just living, there's something loud happening in your life this month, and it might feel like something has gone wrong or something broke, but nothing is actually shattered. It's making you aware, or it's revealing what is not integrated in your life. And sometimes spirituality doesn't look like transcending. Sometimes spirituality looks like bringing our consciousness down into the present physical moment and living every moment with the full breadth and depth of our spirit. I kind of feel like some of you have also been on social media a lot. And that could be TikTok, that could be YouTube, that could be wherever. And it's like, I don't know, I feel like right now we're kind of in this weird torrent of information. Like there's so much information that's just bombarding us right now. And I think that really comes through like short form media, like reels and TikToks and things like that. Like I think it's changed us in some way. And I think there's almost like, to be honest, I'm almost getting this thing where it's like you've just taken in all this information and it's just kind of hit all you. And I don't want to say the word brainwashed, but it feels like you haven't been able to even really sort through it. Because by the time you get one piece of information, there's already a whole nother stream of information coming in. And you've become very passive in this gathering of information. And I think some of you have also been in an energy where it's like you're stuck in the research phase in things in your life, and you're at this point where it's like you need to make action but you're afraid to, with the Strength and the Knight of Wands in reverse. And I kind of feel like you need to talk to someone. You need to interact with someone to give you encouragement, to give you suggestions, to give you something to work with. Six of Wands. Having the victory, coming back to the world, coming back from battle. Achieving something. You're supposed to be achieving something. And I almost feel like you've overthought something to a point where you might even be risking injury or a mental health problem or even worrying yourself sick. I feel like this group is very stuck in their head. And stuck in kind of like a self-defense mechanism. And so much of the astrology this year is really about getting out of our comfort zones, especially with these eclipses. And Saturn in your sign is actually going to be squaring the eclipses. This is called a bending of the nodes. And it's interesting, this energy can sometimes feel like falling out of reality. But it's almost like you catch yourself falling is sort of the thing. And you see how you've been disconnected. Queen of Swords, as I'm talking about disconnection, interesting. Yeah, just being very mental. And like there's a lot of planning, but I think there also needs to just be action. I want to pull an animal card here too. You have the lizard. And this is interesting because lizards really are all about using energy wisely. As cold-blooded animals, they have a very limited supply of energy. They have to get that from the sun. But then they have to move, they have to get food. I believe the longer they spend in the sun. You need to use the energy that you have. And you also need to give yourself time to rest. And we do have the dragon card here as well, which is the solar plexus chakra and kind of this interesting sort of reptilian or scaly motif here. There could be something that you are shedding. And this is a very cold-blooded energy, and this is actually over the Queen of Swords, which is kind of interesting. It does feel like being kind of removed from your emotions, but you need to get back into your sense of self. You need to find your inner fire again. You need to find this thing that lights you up, and maybe it's a little messy. But I think you miss that part of you too. And the butterfly, needing to come out of the cocoon, needing to open up, needing to transform. You've been inside yourself for so long that I don't think you've realized how much you've actually changed. Or maybe you know you've changed, but you feel confined in something that once felt like a safe space or a cocoon. And it's scary. But it's time to spread your wings. And as that dragon, take flight. I feel like there's one more card. Show me clearly. That was way too many. I'm actually feeling the angel cards again, and I pulled them for Capricorn as well. This is the Angelarium, in case I forget to put this in the description of the video, where you can find all of the decks that I use in all of my videos. I always get asked that. And I'm just going to read this straight from the booklet. I don't work with this deck very often, but this kind of helps us connect with angelic energy. I will tell you now, it can sometimes feel quite cold. But that's because angels have a very high perspective, and they're very removed. They're very transcended, which is kind of ironic that this is the deck that pulled me, but I feel like this is the one I'm supposed to finish off on. Just choose. Okay, so we have Phanuel, the Angel of Truth. Let's see if I can find this. This book isn't actually in it. Oh, perfect. Never mind, I opened right up to the page. Phanuel will wait for your arrival. It was here long before you arrived, standing at the threshold to the throne room. You may not have been born witness. Its sound may have escaped you, but Phanuel has waited there for you, eager to wrap you up in a cloak of truth. Reality is ever present. It is a simple matter to find it. It is another, much more difficult task to understand that its truth can be different from truth. Hold the torch high. See what stands before you for what it is. Signs. Wine, a torch, a bleeding eye. Very interesting here. What this really makes me think of, Aquarius, it's almost like you've been seeking some sort of truth. And you've dug really deep spiritually or connected spiritually. But it's almost like the answer, the clarity, the thing that has been missing is somewhere around you. And it's in living your life. It's not in leaving a life behind. And it's interesting. I feel like there's going to be this huge perspective shift for you at the end of the month. And it's like, oh my God, the answer has been with me the whole time, sort of thing. Kind of feels like that's connected with the new moon in Gemini, actually, which is on the 30th. And I think those are all the messages I have for you this month, Aquarius. I apologize, this was a little more esoteric than some of the other readings. So again, you may want to check for your moon or rising sign. There will be a playlist shortly after in the outro here. And all of my links are in the description box down below. And I'm wishing you a very happy, safe, and blessed May. And I will see you all in the next video. Take care, Aquarius.